A family is now grieving the murder of another loved one after a deadly shooting in Durham. 21-year-old Karizma Mebane was shot and killed on Friday night.
"20 shots. 20 deafening cracks that shattered the stillness of a Friday night in Durham, North Carolina. 20 bullets that tore through the air, each one carrying the weight of a life stolen, a family broken, a community shaken." On October 7th, 2022, at a Valero gas station on the corner of Cheek Road and Hardy Street, a young woman named Karizma Mebane stepped out of her car, unaware that she was stepping into the final moments of her life. Her body crumpled to the ground as the gunfire erupted, her dreams extinguished in a hail of bullets. The security cameras captured it all, her last heartbeat, frozen in time. This isn't just another statistic in a city plagued by gun violence. This is the story of Karizma Mebane, a 21-year-old aspiring model with a smile that could light up a room and a heart that touched everyone she met. A young woman who had already endured unimaginable loss, only to become another victim of the same senseless brutality that claimed her brother just 2 years earlier. But this case is different. This wasn't random, police say. This was deliberate, targeted, personal. And the question that haunts everyone who hears this story is devastatingly simple. Why Karizma? Welcome to Dark Truth Files, where we uncover the stories that demand to be told, the lives that deserve to be remembered, and the truths that refuse to stay buried. Today, we're diving into a case that will grip you, break your heart, and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about violence, justice, and the human cost of a single moment. The murder of Karizma Mebane isn't just a crime. It's a wound that cuts deep into a family, a community, and a city struggling to break free from the grip of gun violence. On that fateful October evening, Karizma pulled into the Valero gas station for what should have been a routine stop. She was just grabbing a few items from the nearby mini-mart, maybe a snack or a drink, unaware that 2 young men, brothers, roommates, strangers to her, were watching from across the lot. Within minutes, those brothers, Jaquez Reddick and Tracy Crawford, would make a choice that would end her life and change their own forever. 20 shots rang out, and Karizma's story became a tragedy. But what drove these 2 young men, with no prior criminal history, to commit such a brutal act? What invisible connection, if any, tied them to Karizma? And how does a city where nearly 400 shootings occurred in just 6 months fail to protect yet another bright soul? As we unravel this case, we'll follow the trail of evidence that led police to arrests within 24 hours. We'll confront the uncomfortable truths about gun violence in Durham. And we'll ask the question that lingers like a ghost. What makes someone pull the trigger? Karizma's story isn't just about one night or one crime. It's about a family that had already buried a son to gun violence, only to lose a daughter in the same heartbreaking way. It's about a community where gunshots have become background noise, where lives are cut short before they can truly begin. And it's about the search for answers in a case that feels both senseless and deliberate, random yet targeted. If you believe every victim deserves to be more than a headline, if you want to understand the human cost of violence, then stay with me. Grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's dive into the heartbreaking, gripping, and unforgettable story of Karizma Mebane. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about this case. What are your thoughts on gun violence? Have you been touched by a story like this? Your voice matters, and together, we can keep Karizma's memory alive. Don't forget to subscribe to Dark Truth Files and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that needs to be told. Karizma Mebane wasn't just a name on a police report or a face in a news story. She was a daughter, a sister, a dreamer, a 21-year-old woman whose vibrant spirit left an indelible mark on everyone who knew her. Born on January 1, 2001, in Alamance County, North Carolina, Karizma, known to her loved ones as Riz, was a new millennium baby, a symbol of hope and possibility. From her earliest days, she carried a light that seemed to shine through even the darkest moments, a light that her stepsister, Chanqua Spencer, described as the purest heart. Karizma's early years were shaped by the unwavering love of her grandparents, who raised her with a strong sense of values and principles. In their modest home in Alamance County, they instilled in her a belief in kindness, hard work, and the power of dreaming big. Karizma wasn't just a child to them. She was a gift, a young soul with endless potential. Her grandmother would later recall how Karizma would sit at the kitchen table, sketching designs for dresses or practicing piano chords, her laughter filling the house like music. As she grew, Karizma's talents blossomed. At Eastern Alamance High School, she wasn't just another student passing through the halls. She graduated with honors in 2019, a testament to her dedication and intellect. But Karizma was more than her grades. She poured her creativity into the yearbook staff, capturing moments that would define her classmates' memories. She joined the Arts Honor Society, where her passion for beauty and expression found a home. And on the track team, she ran with a grace and determination that mirrored her approach to life. Always moving forward, always chasing her dreams. Karizma's passion for modeling and fashion was more than a hobby. It was her calling. With her striking beauty and photogenic charm, she seemed destined for the runway or the camera lens. She had the kind of presence that turned heads, not just for her looks, but for the warmth she radiated. Friends described her as gorgeous inside and out, someone who could make you feel seen and valued with just a smile. She was already taking steps toward her dreams, working part-time at a Publix grocery store in Cary to save money for her future in the fashion world. Every shift, every paycheck, was a step closer to the life she envisioned, a life where her creativity could shine. But Karizma's life wasn't defined only by her ambitions. It was her relationships that truly shaped her. She was fiercely close to her family, especially her brother, Tyreek TK Gaddis, who was just 2 years her senior. Together they shared a bond that went beyond siblings. They were dreamers, collaborators, and each other's biggest cheerleaders. Tyreek, a rising music producer in Alamance County, and Karizma, with her eye for visual aesthetics, had big plans. They talked about combining his beats with her style, creating something unique, something that would put their names on the map. But that dream was shattered in 2020, when Tyreek was gunned down in Alamance County at the age of 23. His death was described as a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, a random act of gun violence that left the family reeling. For Karizma, losing Tyreek was like losing a piece of her soul. She carried his memory in everything she did, posting tributes to him on social media, vowing to make him proud. On October 6, 2022, just one day before her own life would end, she shared a photo of herself and Tyreek with the caption, "Missing you always, but making you proud every day." It was her final post, a heartbreaking reminder of the love that defined her. The loss of Tyreek sent shockwaves through the family. Chanqua Spencer, Karizma's stepsister, spoke of the unbearable pain of losing one sibling, only to face the unimaginable prospect of losing another. The family leaned on their faith, finding solace in their belief that Tyreek was watching over them, but nothing could prepare them for the nightmare that was about to unfold. Karizma, with her infectious smile and unbreakable spirit, was determined to keep moving forward, to honor her brother's memory by living fully. She didn't know that her own life was about to be cut short in the same brutal way. Karizma Mebane was more than a victim. She was a young woman with dreams as big as the sky, a heart as pure as her stepsister described, and a future that seemed limitless. She was the girl who played piano with grace, who ran track with fire, who dreamed of walking runways and creating art. She was the sister who carried her brother's memory like a torch, refusing to let grief define her. And she was the daughter, granddaughter, and friend who left a void that could never be filled. As we move into the events of that tragic night, hold on to the image of Karizma's smile. It's the light that guides this story, even as we step into the darkness. October 7th, 2022, started like any other Friday in Durham, North Carolina. The city was alive with a hum of weekend plans, friends meeting for dinner, families running errands, the streets buzzing with energy. At the Valero gas station on the corner of Cheek Road and Hardy Street, the neon glow of the Mini-Mart sign cast a familiar light over the pumps. It was 8:55 p.m. and Karizma Mebane pulled into the lot, her car idling as she stepped out to grab a few items from the store. She had no idea that this routine stop would be her last. The Valero station was a typical hub of activity that evening. Customers came and went, filling their tanks, grabbing snacks, or chatting with the cashier. Karizma, dressed casually but with her signature style, walked toward the Mini-Mart, her mind likely on her plans for the weekend or her dreams for the future. She was just another young woman going about her day, unaware that two sets of eyes were fixed on her from across the parking lot. Jaquez Reddick, 23, and Tracy Crawford, 18, were there that night. Roommates, possibly brothers, living just 3 miles away on Elm Street. They weren't strangers to the area. This gas station was part of their neighborhood, a place they likely passed countless times. But something was different that night. Something had brought them here, armed and ready to act. What was it? A grudge? A plan? A moment of reckless impulse? The answers remain elusive, but what happened next would change everything. At 8:57 p.m., the first shot rang out, then another, and another. Witnesses later told police they counted 20 shots, a barrage of gunfire that tore through the night air like a thunderstorm. Customers at the gas station dove for cover, some screaming, others frozen in shock. A terrified voice called 911, gasping, "There's a girl on the ground by the gas pumps. Please hurry." The security cameras captured the chaos. Karizma, caught in the open, collapsing as bullets struck her, her body crumpling to the pavement. Police arrived within minutes, their sirens piercing the night. They found Karizma near the gas pumps, a single gunshot wound to her chest. Paramedics worked frantically to stabilize her, rushing her to a nearby hospital. But the damage was too severe. Karizma Mebane, the 21-year-old with dreams of modeling and a heart full of love, was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The Valero station, once a mundane stop for gas and snacks, was now a crime scene, cordoned off with yellow tape, evidence markers dotting the pavement like grim confetti. As investigators processed the gas station, another detail emerged that deepened the mystery. Just 1 mile away, at the Triangle Auto Wash on Cheek Road, police responded to a second scene. There they found a vehicle with at least one bullet hole, a silent witness to the violence that had just unfolded. Was this car connected to the shooting? Was it a secondary target, or simply caught in the crossfire? Police haven't released details, but the presence of this second scene suggests the violence may have extended beyond the gas station, raising questions about the scope of the attack. Witnesses at the gas station painted a harrowing picture. One described the sound of the gunfire as relentless, like a war zone erupting in the middle of their neighborhood. Another saw Karizma fall, her body motionless as the shooters fled into the night. The 911 call, released later, captured the raw panic of the moment. "I counted 20 shots. She's not moving. Oh my God, please send help." These voices, trembling with fear, would become crucial to the investigation, their accounts helping police piece together the timeline. From the outset, Durham police made a chilling statement. This shooting did not appear to be random. Unlike the tragic death of Karizma's brother Tyreek, which was described as a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, this attack felt deliberate, targeted. But why? Karizma had no known enemies, no criminal ties, no reason to be in anyone's crosshairs. Was it a case of mistaken identity, a personal vendetta, or something darker, hidden beneath the surface of this quiet neighborhood? The police's assertion that this was no random act would shape the investigation, driving detectives to dig deeper into the lives of both the victim and the suspects. As the night of October 7th gave way to the dawn of October 8th, the Valero gas station stood silent, a grim reminder of the life lost within its boundaries. But the investigation was just beginning. Within hours, police would make a breakthrough that stunned the community. 2 suspects identified and arrested, their names sending shockwaves through Durham. Who were Jaquez Reddick and Tracy Crawford, and what could possibly have driven them to this unthinkable act? By the morning of October 8, 2022, less than 24 hours after the gunfire that claimed Karizma Maine's life, Durham police had 2 suspects in custody, Jaquez Reddick, 23, and Tracy Crawford, 18. Roommates, possibly brothers, living together at a modest home on Elm Street, just 3 miles from the Valero gas station where Karizma was killed. Their arrests were swift, the evidence overwhelming, but the question that loomed over the case was as perplexing as it was heartbreaking. Why? What drove 2 young men with no prior criminal history to commit such a brutal act? And what, if any, connection existed between them and the vibrant young woman whose life they ended? Jaquez Reddick and Tracy Crawford weren't hardened criminals. They were young men from East Durham, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat. Their home on Elm Street was unassuming, a place where neighbors knew them as quiet, unremarkable kids. Jaquez, the older of the 2, had dropped out of high school at 16, but recently earned his GED and landed a job at a local warehouse. He was trying to turn things around, to build a future. Tracy, at 18, was still in 10th grade at Southern Durham High School, held back twice due to academic struggles. He was a father to a young son, a responsibility that weighed heavily on his young shoulders. Court documents suggested a familial connection, listing both men as living at the same address with their mother, possibly indicating they were brothers. This detail, while unconfirmed, added a layer of complexity to the case. Were they acting together as a unit, driven by a shared motive? Or was one leading the other, caught up in a moment of reckless violence? Their lack of criminal history made the crime all the more shocking. As one detective later said, "In my 20 years on the force, I've seen all kinds of motives, jealousy, revenge, money. But this case was different. It makes no sense on the surface." On Monday, October 10th, Jaquez and Tracy appeared before Judge Dave Hall via video link from the Durham County Detention Center. Both were charged with first-degree murder in Karizma's death. Tracy faced additional charges of attempted murder and discharging a firearm into an occupied vehicle, hinting at the possibility of other targets or collateral damage that night. The courtroom was tense, the air heavy with grief and disbelief. The brother's father stood before the judge, his voice trembling as he pleaded for bond. "Your Honor, my sons have never been in trouble before. Jaquez has a good job. Tracy has a baby boy who needs him. They understand the severity of this situation." But Judge Hall was unmoved. "The court recognizes the defendant's lack of criminal history," he said, his voice firm. "However, given the premeditated nature of this crime and the overwhelming evidence presented by the state, I find that both defendants pose a significant flight risk and potential danger to the community." No bond. The brothers would remain in custody, their futures now tied to a case that seemed to defy explanation. So, what drove Jaquez and Tracy to this moment? The police's early statement that the shooting was not random fueled speculation. Was Karizma targeted because of a personal connection, a mistaken identity, or something tied to the broader web of violence in Durham? Investigators combed through the brothers' lives, looking for clues. Jaquez's recent job at the warehouse suggested stability. But did he have ties to someone, or something, that pulled him into this act? Tracy's struggles at school and his responsibilities as a young father could have created pressure. But was it enough to push him to murder? One theory pointed to a possible gang connection, given Durham's history of gang-related violence. In 2022 alone, the city recorded nearly 400 shootings, many tied to rival factions. But neither Jaquez nor Tracy had any documented gang affiliations, and Karizma's life, focused on modeling, family, and her job, seemed far removed from that world. Another possibility was a personal dispute, perhaps something as simple as a perceived slight or a misunderstanding that escalated. Yet, Karizma's stepsister, Chanqua, insisted there was no known link between her sister and the suspects. "We have no idea who they are," she said, her voice heavy with grief. Could it have been a case of mistaken identity? The second scene at the Triangle Auto Wash, where a vehicle was found with a bullet hole, suggests the violence may have been broader than a single target. Was Karizma caught in a larger conflict, her death an unintended consequence? Or was the police's non-random statement a miscalculation, a rush to judgment in the chaos of a fresh crime scene? These questions swirled, each one a red herring that kept the motive shrouded in mystery. What makes this case so haunting is the absence of a clear motive. Jaquez and Tracy weren't career criminals. They weren't running from a rap sheet or a life of violence. They were young men with clean records, ordinary lives, and on the surface, no reason to throw it all away. Yet, they made a choice that night, a choice that ended Karizma's life and left their own futures in ruins. As we move into the investigation's twists and turns, one thing is clear. The truth behind Karizma's murder is as complex as it is heartbreaking. In the days following Karizma Maine's murder, Durham police worked at a relentless pace. The arrests of Jaquez Reddick and Tracy Crawford within 24 hours were a testament to their determination, but the case was far from closed. The initial shock of the shooting gave way to a deeper mystery, one that would unravel new questions, challenge assumptions, and expose the raw nerve of gun violence in Durham. As investigators dug deeper, a series of revelations and procedural developments kept the case in the headlines, and kept Karizma's family searching for answers. The speed of the arrests was no accident. Security footage from the Valero gas station provided a chilling record of the shooting, capturing the moment Karizma fell and the suspects fled. More than a dozen evidence markers littered the pavement, each one representing a bullet casing or a fragment of the chaos. Witnesses, though shaken, offered critical accounts that helped police identify Jaquez and Tracy. Their home on Elm Street, just 3 miles away, was searched within hours, yielding evidence that prosecutors described as overwhelming. But what exactly was found? A weapon? Ammunition? Something tying the brothers directly to Karizma? Police have remained tight-lipped, citing the ongoing investigation. Then there was the second scene at the Triangle Auto Wash, a mile from the gas station. The vehicle with a bullet hole raised immediate questions. Was it part of the same attack, or a separate incident tied to the brothers' actions? Tracy's additional charge of discharging a firearm into an occupied vehicle suggested a broader scope of violence that night, but details remained scarce. This second scene became a twist in the case, a loose thread that investigators are still unraveling. The police's early assertion that the shooting was not random became a focal point of the investigation and a source of controversy. For Karizma's family, particularly her stepsister Chanqua, this claim was hard to reconcile. She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, Chanqua told reporters, echoing the explanation given for her brother Tyreek's death in 2020. The idea that Karizma was deliberately targeted felt unthinkable. She had no enemies, no ties to crime, no reason to be marked for death. Yet, the police doubled down, citing evidence that suggested intent. Was there a connection they hadn't disclosed? A witness statement? A digital footprint? The lack of clarity fueled speculation and frustration. As news of the arrests spread, Durham's community grappled with the tragedy. Karizma's death was the city's 34th homicide of 2022, a stark reminder of the gun violence plaguing the area. Local media outlets, including CBS 17 and the Durham Herald-Sun, covered the story extensively, highlighting the family's double loss, first Tyreek, now Karizma. Social media buzzed with tributes to Karizma, her Instagram posts flooded with comments from friends and strangers alike. "Rest in peace, Riz. You were a light," one user wrote. But alongside the grief was anger. Anger at a city where nearly 400 shootings had occurred in just 6 months. Anger at a system that seemed unable to stop the cycle. The media also spotlighted the suspect's lack of criminal history, a detail that shocked the community. How could 2 young men with clean records commit such a heinous act? Online forums buzzed with theories. Gang ties, a personal vendetta, a tragic mistake. Some pointed to Durham's broader issues, like poverty and lack of opportunity, as potential factors. Others saw the brothers' actions as an isolated outburst, impossible to predict. The public's fascination with the case grew, but so did the divide between those who believed the shooting was targeted and those who saw it as another random act in a city under siege. In the courtroom, the brothers' first appearance on October 10th revealed the emotional weight of the case. Their father's plea for bond was a desperate attempt to humanize his sons, to show they weren't monsters. But the judge's decision to deny bond reflected the gravity of the charges and the strength of the evidence. Prosecutors hinted at a premeditated act, but the district attorney's office was still waiting on additional police reports, delaying further details. This procedural stall kept the motive a mystery, leaving Karizma's family in limbo as they mourned yet another loss. The additional charges against Tracy, attempted murder and firing into an occupied vehicle, suggest the investigation is exploring whether others were targeted that night, possibly tied to the vehicle found at the Triangle Auto Wash. But without public disclosure of the evidence, the case remains shrouded in mystery. For now, the legal system moves forward, but for Karizma's family, each delay feels like a barrier to closure. Karizma's death was the 34th homicide in Durham in 2022, a year that saw nearly 400 shootings in just 6 months. The city's struggle with gun violence isn't just a statistic. It's a lived reality for residents who hear gunshots as background noise, who mourn loved ones lost to senseless acts. Community leaders have called for change, pointing to systemic issues like poverty, lack of opportunity, and easy access to guns as root causes. Karizma's story, coupled with her brother Tyreek's murder in 2020, has become a rallying cry for advocates pushing for stronger gun control and community programs to break the cycle of violence. Chanqua Spencer, Karizma's stepsister, has emerged as a voice for change. Inspired by the loss of both her siblings, she's planning to start a nonprofit to support families affected by gun violence. "I feel like I'm here for a purpose," she told reporters. "So many people in my community have lost loved ones to gun violence. It's everywhere. It's not just Durham." Her resilience is a testament to the strength of Karizma's memory, a light that refuses to fade even in the face of tragedy. Karizma Mebane was more than a victim of gun violence. She was a dreamer who saw beauty in the world and wanted to share it through her art and modeling. She was a sister who carried her brother's memory with every step, a daughter who made her grandparents proud, a friend who brought joy to those around her. Her life, though brief, created ripples that continue to inspire. Her stepsister's advocacy, her community's resolve, and the stories shared by those who knew her are proof that Karizma's light still shines. The search for justice in Karizma's case is ongoing, but it's more than a courtroom battle. It's a call to confront the epidemic of gun violence that claims lives like Karizma's every day. It's a demand to remember the victims, not as statistics, but as people with dreams, families, and futures stolen too soon. And it's a challenge to all of us to ask, what can we do to stop this? How do we protect the next Karizma, the next Tyreek, from becoming another name on a memorial? What are your thoughts on the unanswered questions in Karizma's case? Do you believe the shooting was truly targeted, Or was it another tragic case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time? And what can communities do to break the cycle of gun violence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your voice. Let's keep this conversation going, because stories like Karizma's demand to be heard. Thank you for joining us on this journey through a story that's as heartbreaking as it is urgent. Karizma Mabe's life was a gift, and her memory is a call to action. Subscribe to Dark Truth Files, share this video to spread awareness, and let's honor Karizma by refusing to let violence have the final word. Until next time, stay safe and keep seeking the truth.